Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Spencer. You are listening to my podcast, Show Ahora. Yo ahora, me now. And this is part 1 on pickup artists. We're going to jump right into it. This is the first episode I'm recording where I actually have notes in front of me. It's not a script, but it is notes because I want to handle this correctly. If you've been listening, which you should be, if you're listening now, you should be listening. Listen, tune in. Every single episode so far of this podcast has served a purpose. Tune in, catch up, let's go. But thankfully for you, if you are new here, this is the introduction of a chapter, if you will. I'm going to do what I think will be a four-part episodic 4 parts on pickup artists. As I covered in the previous episode of this podcast, the reason why I'm choosing to do 4 parts is because my relationship, the longevity of PUAs, pickup artists in my life, it's now half of my life. Okay? That's a lot. So it would be a disservice to my truth. It would be a disservice to my special interest to reduce this interest to a 1-part thing. If you have been listening to this podcast, you would know that my intentions for this podcast, it's to be my final words, my last words, just in case. Why not? I'm 30 years old. It's time to start building the legacy. So there's a chance that my life will be shortened. Who knows? I'm not optimizing for that, but it could happen. And I'm utilizing every single episode, every single second on this podcast in this space to serve as words that can be somewhat timeless. And I want to capture the pickup artist special interest that really changed my life. And if I'm being not so humble, because this niche is so niched, it's so, some people say niche. Anyways, I say niche because it's such a small little thing and yet so polarizing. It has had it gets a response from the world, A lot of people turn their head away from the pickup thing because it's easy to judge it and write it off with assumptions. And I can relate to that, and I'll cover that a little bit in this part 1. But once I've dug in, for me personally, I really opened up a really deep well of a special interest that it's not even for practical purposes. I just became fascinated with the industry and the community of pickup artists and its history, its lore. And so I would not so humbly call myself probably almost like an anthropologist on pickup artists. And I'm not the most refreshed here. I do have my notes to assist me. If I had to take a moment to really brush up on everything I've ever learned about PUA, I would probably need to set aside a couple of days to really refresh my memory and study everything that I've set aside as being useless. I'm not going to do all that. I just want to introduce to you in this part 1, what is pickup artist? What is it? What is pickup artistry? Why am I talking about it? Why does it warrant a 4-part series on my podcast? And why I'm almost nervous to talk about it. So let's get into my notes. The preamble. I am nervous for this 4-part series because I do intend to be honest. I do intend to, assume a loved one of mine, maybe one of the youths in my life who never really got to know me. It'd be cool for them that if they missed out on the chance to know me, now they can know me through this lens. So let me speak honestly about the pickup artist. But where I am nervous to discuss this is this was a part of my life not long ago. This is recent history in my life, my relationship to the PUAs. And I am scared. Unlike if you have, which you should be, if you have been listening to the previous episodes of this podcast, you would have heard me, especially in the previous episode, the last one prior to this, you would have really heard me on my soapbox of my impassioned rant hating on a company I once worked for in a pretty casual sense compared to the PUA relationship I had. I worked for the dumb cannabis production company, and I've expressed my critical opinions on that experience, but also in a way where I don't fear speaking out of turn on that company for a few reasons. Because 1, I don't think I have said anything that could get me in trouble. I'm strategic on that. And 2, I'll just be outright. I've said it in the previous episodes. I think that company is riddled with dumb, lazy people. So even if they wanted to try to take me down, I just don't think they would have the endurance to do so. When it comes to some of the people I've known in this industry of pickup artistry, I feel very differently. There is actual recorded, documented cases in recent history of one individual in particular, a powerful individual as it relates to having resources and influence, using what is called a slap lawsuit in order to silence commenters on the internet, anyone who's offering critique on character. And that I find to be a little terrifying. Okay. So what is a slap lawsuit? Let me just cover that, because I didn't know until I was looking into this case that was happening on the internet recently with this person who I once worked with. I once worked with this individual. So let me pull up my little slap. Okay. A slap. Strategic lawsuit against public participation. It's a baseless lawsuit filed by powerful individuals or corporations to intimidate and silence critics speaking out on matters of public interest, like environmental or social issues, by burdening them with expensive legal battles, even if the case has no real legal merit. I don't want to be put in a position where I get slapped like that. And so I will be mindful when I'm discussing some of the characters and situations, and yet I will lean into honesty. Because at the same time, try me, bitch. No, please don't. But at the same time, try me, bitch. I really don't think these people are listening. But just in case, I just want to be really clear. I have nothing but mostly goodwill for everyone I've ever known and worked with. Mostly goodwill or neutrality. I don't have any vengeance plots. I don't care about that. I have actually a lot of respect and reverence and gratitude for so many of my experiences that I have felt through pickup artistry, like through being connected to that community. And I'm going to obviously explore that throughout this series. But I will never hesitate to choose honesty and authenticity. And so if some little fucking bitch, little twerp ass, bully ass little fucking bitch wants to threaten someone like me with a fucking slap lawsuit, just watch out. Watch out. You watch out. You watch out. You watch out. Okay, that's my only little preamble. And don't worry, it should not have to come to that. Trust me. Trust the process here. So let's talk about what is a pickup artist. I wanted to Google that. Of course, I'm going to be talking about that, so it'll become pretty clear. But let's just I had two results pop up on Google. First, I had the AI result, which I thought was very interesting because the AI result had a lot of inherent bias. And then I had a dictionary result, which I found to be a lot more stripped of opinion and more objective. So first, here's the Google AI result. What is a pickup artist? A pickup artist, PUA, pickup artist, is a man who uses psychological manipulation, rehearsed lines, and specific techniques called game to seduce women, often viewing social interactions as a game with a score, leading to misogynistic views and treating women as objects for sexual conquest, stemming from a subculture popularized by books like The Game and reality shows. While some start with shyness, many become focused on achieving numerous sexual partners using tactics like negging, that's backhanded compliments, and emotional manipulation to lower a woman's self-esteem and increase dependence on the PUA, the pickup artist, for validation. The AI one kind of made me roll my eyes, but it's really important to capture that because the AI voice is representing a cultural critique at large. You know, this is, I think, when I've had conversations with people from outside of pickup artistry, men and women, doesn't matter who, they will sort of have this opinion, right? This is the opinion. Oh, pickup artists are just manipulators. I don't know. I mean, this is half of my life, right? So I'm way more invested in like deep nuanced thought here. The dictionary definition of a pickup artist: a person who is skilled at striking up conversations in order to attract potential sexual partners, in particular, a man who studies and practices special techniques that are intended to make this easier. I like that description a bit more because it's up to you to develop an opinion. Fuck AI, respectfully. Fuck you, AI. Let me make my own opinion. But AI is simply mirroring a worldwide critique. So it deserves to have space here. I just am hating on AI a little bit. How did I, Spencer, fall into the pickup artist pipeline? I'm going to drink water throughout this episode, which I haven't done in previous episodes. It will give us a chance to catch up and it'll give me a chance to stay hydrated. Here we go. 1 second. Okay, thank you for that. Drink water. You too. Okay, how I found the game, or rather how I found pickup artistry. Well, I found it through a book called The Game, written by Neil Strauss. This is a New York Times bestseller, published in 2005. I found it because I'm going to just safely say I was 15. It easily could have been that I was 14 or whatever. I think it's just safe to say I was 15 because that seems like the real launching point for me. I was at my family's house, so my aunt and uncle and cousin's house, and I think I was either staying in one of my cousin's bedrooms, maybe while they were out of town or something. It was around the holiday, it was around Christmas, New Year's, whatever, or I was simply snooping, not minding my business, classic. And I saw in my slightly older cousin's collection of books, he had a book that looked like the Holy Bible. So it's this black hardcover book, quite big and thick, with gold trim pages. I think it even had that red ribbon bookmark type of thing, and gold letters for the cover saying the title of the book, The Game, Penetrating the Secret Society of Pickup Artists, written by Neil Strauss. That's the author. That's the guy who penetrated the secret society. And just to set a precedence here of like what that meant to me at the time when I was 15 years old, it was the most silly thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I want to be really clear. I was in disbelief. At 15 years old, I am sure I would have heard of this idea, maybe not of pickup artists, but I definitely have heard of pickup lines. A pickup line, what's your pickup line? But the idea of this book being a real thing in my cousin's possession was so funny and hilarious and weird to me at the time. It was like a book about the Loch Ness Monster, or a book about mermaids, or, just like a book about something that is so unreal. Unicorns, there's no way. It's just so silly. And so here I'm looking at this book and I'm like, are you for real? Is it real, or is it like a fictional take? I'm in disbelief. And that's in a way kind of cool, because that's probably why pickup became so strong and fierce in my mind and my special interest. It was such a almost like a disillusionment process of like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you guys for real? The Secret Society pickup artists, like it's real? Why I started looking into the book, it's not because, oh yeah, it's my turn, to play the game. No. At first, it was just simply an attempt to make fun of my cousin. Gentle teasing of, what are you doing with this fucking book, you dork? So I picked it up off of his shelf, kind of admired it, judged it, stood in awe of this unicorn material. And I thought, oh my God, what a fucking loser. I can't wait to make fun of him. This is hilarious. This is so precious. And I sat down and I started reading it. And I haven't read that book in a long time, and I'll just be the first to say, I think there was one time several years ago where I picked up the game for a second go around, not to read it, but kind of to flip through. And the way I felt with years elapsing from like the first introduction to the game and then years into the game, obviously my thoughts on the material had evolved. And let's be clear, I was 15 years old when I was reading this book. And so, yeah, I had critiques on it. I still was smart. I'm still a smart kid. But I was still a kid, like young and dumb. So I was definitely naive. And I think when I was more grown up looking at the game, I thought, had I found this later in life, I think it would not have taken so much shape in my mind. But that's maybe okay. Like, that's meant to be, because now I am me. Now I am me. This is why it's a 4-part series. This is me. It's a part of my life. There's no going back. Like, and I'll never deny it. I'll never be a denier. No way. I love truth. The truth feels beautiful. It can be challenging, but it feels so good. It's so liberating. I pulled up a little PDF here of the game by Neil Strauss, and the dedication, the page like, oh, this book is dedicated to my whoever. The dedication really stood out to me when I was reading it last night. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to piggyback off of the dedication, and I'm going to say something to the community, because I've met a lot of people. In real life, I've met hundreds of guys. Online, I've technically interacted with hundreds of thousands of men specifically. I mean, pickup wise. Okay. I know on TikTok, technically I have like over 1 point whatever million impressions. That's just TikTok. Whatever, bro. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when I was in my younger 20s, posting on YouTube for the pickup artist community. That's hundreds of thousands of interactions, and in real life, hundreds of guys. So here is the dedication of the book, The Game, that Neil Strauss wrote. He says, dedicated to the thousands of people I talk to in bars, clubs, malls, airports, grocery stores, subways, and elevators over the last 2 years. If you are reading this, I want you to know that I wasn't running game on you. I was being sincere. Really, you were different. Shout out to Neil Strauss. I know what he's doing there. Like, if it was him genuinely, or his editor, his marketing team, great marketing on this book. If it weren't for this book, pickup would never have taken the shape it eventually would have in our culture. Whether you know it or not, it was big in its own little underbelly of society. This little dedication he wrote, I think, is him leaning into the character of being the bad boy who penetrated the secret society of pickup artists. Neil Strauss himself was sort of doing, I think he actually went into it earnestly, if I'm being honest. If I remember correctly, I think he was actually curious about the material of PUA and learning it. And eventually he got really deep into it as like a journalist. And he really got close to the industry. And I guess at the time in the early 2000s, like very early, pre-2005, he became a notable pickup artist in the community himself, and his little pseudonym, because back in the day, in the early 2000s and in the late 90s, the PUAs kind of existed in forums online, like a forum like Reddit sort of, but really just like forums dedicated to this. And all the guys had secret names so that they could post anonymously about their field reports, a field report, like an action report of them going out and practicing pickup. So Neil Strauss, his little secret name was Style. And what I'll do to piggyback off of his little thing here, his dedication, is in this episode and in this series, this 4-part series, I want to say to the hundreds of guys I met or simply existed in the same space as you, in this space that was for you, largely, it was for you. And I benefited from the space with you. Maybe I had beautiful conversations with you. Maybe I had not. So I didn't love everyone I met, But maybe I had a conversation with you. Maybe you really liked me. Maybe you didn't like me. I just want you to know, if you're listening to this, I want you to know I wasn't running game on you. I was being sincere. And really, I am different. Me, I'm different, not you. Me, I'm different. I'm capable of everything that the game taught me. Everything that material taught me. I was drawn to pickup largely for the self-help utility of it. Yeah, I love the attraction stuff. Love it so much. But I also loved the way it empowered me with tools of thought and critical thinking and being sort of like a free agent in the world. And when I was looking into pickup, I really meant it. I really meant it in a way of having a humble curiosity for the space and wanting to engage with the tools in a way that could benefit me too. So I was being sincere, and I don't want to discredit any good times or favorable thoughts that these people have had for me, because there's a trust. I know that there's a trust that I earned in the space, and I really don't want anyone to think I took that for granted, or I take that for granted. Anything critical I could say on the industry is not even meant to hurt anyone. I'm not promoting cancel culture. I don't need to do that. If anything needs to happen, it doesn't need to be me to move those plots forward. If anyone needs to be canceled or anything needs to happen, it will happen on its own. I'm not doing that. That's not for me to do. I'm here to share a very unique perspective, a very uniquely lived experience that I don't think most women can say they've had. I might be, I love the chance to say this, I might be one of a kind in this instance. So when I share my critical thoughts, don't worry, I have respect, I have gratitude for the game, but my respect can't really exist without the critique. Okay, I need the critique. Otherwise it's weightless. Next section. In the first chapter of the game, because okay, let's go back. I'm 15 years old. I found this freaking book. Also, who am I at the time? Let me just make sure I have the who, what, when, where, why. I started my own personal self-help journey around the age of 14. unrelated to pickup, obviously. What had happened for me, long story short, is I felt that after the age of 10, and honestly throughout all of my childhood, I was literally since day zero, always a very, very deep thinking, introspective individual. I don't think I I had a beautiful childhood. Let me make that clear. I had a good childhood. I just don't think I lived like a normal child would, and like the way a normal child would express themselves and engage with the world. I was just a little more locked up. And after the age of 10, all of that thoughtfulness and introspection started to turn really sour and against myself. And I had really consistent, unrelenting thoughts that were very dark and poisonous and mean. I was being mean to myself. And the craziest thing is I didn't really know how to deal with it because I didn't understand thoughts in my mind like that. It really is, the mind is a tool. And I think someone like me, it's a strength and a weakness because I will be tooting my own horn throughout these episodes. Don't you worry. I love to toot my own horn. I think I've got a great mind. I'm extremely intelligent. I'm very thoughtful. That's awesome. But the downside of that is when I'm growing up and learning the utility of this mind that I've been blessed with, without knowing how to use it, it would work against me because I had a lot of dark thoughts at a relatively young age. And I just felt like I was essentially a victim to these thoughts. They were happening to me. And that's how I remember feeling from the age of basically 10 to 13, 14-ish. I felt like when I wasn't being distracted by like school and friends and whatever, when I just had my moments of solitude, it was torture because if I remember correctly, it felt like in those moments of solitude, I was just left with my thoughts that were so horrible to be in. I hated it. It was horrible. And I remember being so frustrated, like, what the fuck is going on here? And I felt really victimized by that, by myself, because I didn't understand, like, what the fuck is going on here? Why the fuck is my mind so mean to me? This doesn't make sense. And I started to enter almost a state of apathy about it because what am I to do with that? Like, I felt like, is this my life? Is this the life I am to live forever? Literally, is this the life I am to live forever? Am I to just live with a mind that is so mean to me? It sucks. And so, there's a degree of coping in that. But the long story short, if I'm to be honest, around the age of 14, thankfully, out of the apathy and depression, eventually came a lot of anger. And anger is tricky, right? Anger can be a very, very tricky territory. And I think, again, good mind, very lucky. With my anger, it was pointed in an appropriate way. My anger was directed at myself, but not in a way of like, oh, I'm mad, I'm going to hurt myself. My anger was directed in a way of, if this is my life, my mind, this is it. This is what I have to live with. This is my cursed mind for the rest of my fucking life. However long I have to be here with this miserable, fucking, disgusting mind, hurting myself, making me feel unsafe in the corners of my own goddamn fucking mind. If this is what I have to live with, well, fuck this. But at the same time, I'm not going to do anything about it. Sure, when I was young, as a teenager, as a lot of teenagers do have, because of hormones and shit, sure, maybe there's some suicidal ideation, but I was pretty sure I wasn't going to walk that plot forward. So I thought, well, shit. If this is the hellhole I have to live in, I guess I don't have much to lose. This sucks. I don't have anything to lose. I'm mad about it. Fuck this. This fucking sucks. And if I have nothing to lose, like this is my fucking bitch ass, loser ass life, well, I'm going to use this anger to fix it. Change it, to place a bet on myself. And that's why I say at 14, I was very lucky because the nature of this anger, it was like a purifying rage of, I will do something about this. Fuck this. Okay. Like, fuck this, which is an interesting approach to the self-help mind journey because it in itself in the very beginning it could be like very obsessive and very controlling, which is not the best approach to changing thoughts and paradigms. But with the tools I had at the time, I was just working at the level I was at. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that about young me. I when I look back at myself, I have so much respect for a little me. Like, it's so important to say that because in the moment, I could have never known how honestly brilliant and insightful I was at the time, because I was too busy judging myself. But in retrospect, I'm like, girl, what the fuck? Like, you changed your world. You changed your world. You willed your world to change. That's so cool. Good for you. And that's why I'm getting choked up. Like, that's why I talk about this stuff, because if in any way I can say something that becomes a tool that's useful to someone else that was in a similar position as me, like, I'm not a qualified professional or anything, but I'm just a person with lived experience and an ability to speak about it at times. If I can connect some dots for someone else, I must. I see it as like a time machine. Like, it's my duty. I must pay it forward. I must pay it forward. Because I love to toot my own horn. I don't even think it's like, oh, Spencer, like, you have such a great mind. Like, you really did that. I think I'm uniquely lucky. I think I had very special downloads, like right time, right place. Like, I got lucky with this mind. I got lucky at times. I got very lucky. And so I must pay it forward. Okay? So if at 14 I was already going into the productive anger of wanting to change my circumstance, even though I didn't really know how to do it, that meant at 15, when I was eventually stumbling on this niche part of self-help, because self-help is really where I started it, like Googling WikiHow articles, how to be confident, how to be happy, how to kiss someone, like every tutorial I could possibly read, watching YouTube videos. You have to think at the time, if it was like 2008, 2009, I was blessed to have the abundance of the internet, but it was nothing like it is today in 2025, 26. It's nothing like it. So trust me, I had a wealth of information, but can you imagine? Can you imagine today? I'm actually grateful that it was at that time that I was starting to work through this material, because I think I would have been, like, I'm scared for the youth, that the youth are probably overwhelmed with information right now, overwhelmed. And I too was like overwhelmed with possibilities, but it was a little more niche down, because things on the internet weren't as fleshed out as they are right now. The algorithms weren't like they are now. So there was a lot of self-discovery, and there was a lot of reading actual books in the process from the self-help aisle. When I found my cousin's book, The Game, Penetrating the Secret Society of Pickup Artists, and then I started reading it to make fun of him. Well, I had enough like sense to also recognize, like, oh, there's actual like game in here, not just like the weird pickup artist underbelly, but it's kind of interesting. It's talking about communication styles. Like, I was already into that stuff at that point. So I was definitely looking and reading. And it's funny how at first my intention was to make fun of my cousin. Eventually I ended up just stealing the book. I didn't even tell him. I just stole. I'm like, oh, it's a big book, I'm like, I was like going back home the next day. I'm like, I'm just going to take this. He won't miss it, just sitting on his shelf. It's a shelf help. So I took the book and I read it in no time. Big book, but I read it in like a matter of days. I really just like sat down and binged it. It really just like the pickup artist stuff really hit this chord in my brain. I don't know about like karmic past life, whatever, like different things that I maybe am just attuned to in this frequency that I'm existing in. Something about the pickup artist stuff beyond, I don't care about fucking, if I'm being honest. Like, I would never have called myself a pickup artist. I barely walked that life, like barely. I've always used the tools of attraction and flirting that I found to be useful to benefit my life. But I'm like, I'm very conservative in my relationships. I'm just fascinated. I'm largely fascinated, and I found a lot of utility in the PUA advice around just general self-help and communication and confidence, okay? So the first chapter that also hooked me, and I want to give credit to Neil Strauss, like, he is a good writer. He's an actual writer. It's no bullshit. The first chapter is called Meet Mystery. Mystery being one of the main characters of the pickup artist industry in the early 2000s, okay? Here's the first little paragraph. The house was a disaster. Doors were split and smashed off their hinges. Walls were dented in the shape of fists, phones, and flower pots. Herbal was hiding in a hotel room, scared for his life. And Mystery was collapsed in the living room carpet, crying. He'd been crying for 2 days straight. Shout out to Mystery. It's very relatable. So basically, that's how the book starts, which already that hooked me into what I found to be good about Neil Strauss's book here. Like, what he's doing well as an author and someone who's like hooking my attention is me as an outsider. I'm sure the book appealed to insiders, people who already knew about the game. And then me at the time, I was an outsider. I pick up this book and my first reaction is like a bit of a repulsion and judgment. Like, ew, what the fuck is this unicorn bullshit? And then you know, you go into the book and it's like sensational, like, oh, to all the thousands of people I spoke to, I want you to know I wasn't running game on you. I was being sincere. Really, you were different. You know, it's like a little sassy how Neil's like, he's building and stoking tension in his own book. And then the very first chapter, we meet the guru at the time, the fucking guru mystery. His name is Eric von Markovic, I think. Eric, shout out, from Toronto. A lot of PUAs come from Canada, which is, I find that interesting. It's unique. Why? Why Canada? I don't know. Eric, mystery, like, he was at the time the guru. He was the guy. He was the top dog, top shelf pickup artist. And here he is being described as having a fucking crash out, crying. And it was through if I remember correctly, a breakup. It was just him in a breakup. And that hooked my attention too. I'm like, well, why is the guru freaking out? And then I'm sure in the following chapters, Neil kind of like turns back the clock and starts introducing himself into the world and whatever. And it's a book. It's captivating. So let's talk about some of the characters. That's just to set the stage. Now you see how I got into this. Like, again, this episode, this part 1 here that we're doing, this is a safer conversation because I will mostly refrain from speaking in my own personal integrated experiences in the community, like actually being in the rooms with these people. I'm just really setting the stage here. And I'm doing this as if it's my last chance. So I hope you respect the way I'm choosing to speak on this. The next section, the people who I recognize as thought leaders from early PUA, early pickup artists. The reason why I only want to talk about the early people is because they really set a tone for the culture. Okay, so in relatively chronological order, we have, this is crazy, we have hilarious, the early 90s. Early 90s, can you believe that? A man named Ross Jeffries, he published a book called How to Get the Women You Desire into Bed. I've never read it, but you know, when I made this list, I thought I should. Not because I think it would change my life, but because who knows? Like, I should read it for the sake of my special interest. Like, how could I not? How could I not read Ross Jeffries? I think I've heard people call him like the godfather of pickup, which is repulsive to me because, you know, this book published in 1992. Whoever's listening to this, you could stop this for a second if you're able to, or check this out later. Go on YouTube. Just type in the name Ross Jeffries. I'm pretty sure I've seen a YouTube video of him on a talk show where it's like him, the pickup artist, and like there's like a woman. I don't know. It was like the pickup artist versus the natural versus the whatever. And Ross Jeffries is this really like twerpy, skinny looking guy with glasses, like unassuming, and like he's the pickup artist. It's kind of hilarious, right? Like it's like the worst thing ever. This is what the world hates, right? Like some twerpy little loser being opportunistic with his little loser ass, like turtleneck. I don't remember what he's wearing, but in my mind, I see it as like a turtleneck and glasses, talking about how to get the woman you desire into bed. Like, bro, get back in your box, right? Get back in the box. So that's Ross Jeffries, 1992. I wasn't even yet conceived. You know what I mean? Like, that's how far back that goes. We're going to now fast forward to 2001. This is more so when pickup was really taking shape. Because again, remember, it formed through internet forums. So it really takes shape with the internet. Next is David D'Angelo. That's also a French name. I think Ross Jeffries' name is his name, but I never really looked into it. I don't care about him. David D'Angelo, he published something called Double Your Dating, a program or a book. I forget exactly. It was published in 2001. The man's name is actually Eben Pagan. I have no idea of anything controversial about David D'Angelo. I've seen like years ago when I was first getting into this stuff, I watched some of his videos that were available to YouTube. Stuff that was, recorded in the early 2000s. So it has this like certain je ne sais quoi about it. It's like an interesting self-help quality type infotainment thing. And he always seemed really smart, this David D'Angelo. And I know that he's been described as a very powerful marketer. And that's kind of interesting about the pickup artists. Some of them are genuinely like gamers that are really good at game and they're literally pickup artists. And some of them are just like really good marketers. And it makes sense that the two coexist because I said this already, like what I've always loved about the material I found in pickup is it applies if you can distill it, if you have the sense and the wisdom in your mind, which I believe I do, it applies to life at large. So sales techniques, pickup techniques, marketing techniques, a lot of the principles will stand the test of time in industry in that context. So it makes sense to me that David D'Angelo is known as a great marketer, and he still is an active marketer, not in pickup, but you know, the man Eben Pagan, I'm on his email list. He's like selling stuff, you know, probably AI. Everyone's got their AI hustle right now. I can't wait for that bubble to burst. I'm not saying AI won't exist in the future. I'm not that delusional, but I think there's a bubble that everyone's in, and I want it to burst. I want it to burst. Shout out to David D'Angelo. Next, we have Style. That's Neil Strauss. That's the author of The Game. The Game was published in 2005. So that's really, when that hit the New York Times bestseller list, that shot the industry up into orbit. That's really what pushed the momentum forward. Like Neil Strauss moved that plot forward, which is interesting because his book, if I remember correctly, yeah, sure, it is his story of being in the pickup artist industry and being a pickup artist, one of the best, he claims at the time, him and Mystery as a team. Sure. And yet, what was I going to say on that point? Style. I forget. So I'm just going to keep moving on. That's why I have a list. Yay. It's hot in this car. It's hot in this car. Also, if I have to confess, I recorded this episode already this morning, like in the middle of the night, because I couldn't sleep. I recorded all of this. I've already said it to some extent. My headphones were still attached to my phone, and the audio was so fucking shit. It was 2 hours. And it was really good. I was in a good flow state. I have to redo it. We're redoing it right now. So forgive me if I'm going to kind of like brush through details, because I guess my second chance here is a chance to sort of explore my own impatience with my notes. Like what is valuable and what isn't, because this is my second go around. I'm going to drink water. You too. Drink some water. Why not? Thank you. Okay. Style, Neil Strauss, he published The Game in 2005. That set pickup artistry into orbit. It made it mainstream. Still wasn't on my radar. I was 10 years old. Okay. I was just beginning to fight my demons. I'm born in 95. Mystery. That's Eric von Markovic or whatever. I don't think I've also heard anything too controversial on Mystery. And, I'm always willing to be wrong. I've learned now at this point in my wise old age, my wise old experience, like I'm less naive. I'm far more embracing of bad characters. Like, oh, okay. What, 99% of people are sometimes skeezy schemers, scumballs. Like, okay. But, Eric, he seems real. He seems like, because like his history, Mystery, his history is, if you've ever, like, look it up, Mystery pickup artist, look it up, Mystery, PUA. He's like the guy with eyeliner. He's the guy with top hats. He's the guy who's already like taller than 6 foot, I'm pretty sure. And he wears platform shoes. He wears like dark clothing. He really has that Chris Angel aesthetic. And frankly, it's super congruent to Mystery. Because first of all, one technique in pickup artistry is this idea of peacocking. He was definitely big on that. He was definitely moving that plot forward as a pickup artist. But also he was, I'm pretty sure, a street performer of sorts. Like he was a magician. He really did integrate his own flair for magic into his game. And that's where I want to give Mystery his flowers, because he doesn't seem like a phony baloney weirdo opportunist in this industry. Like I really think he was actually a genuine man with like complicated feelings as detailed in the book The Game in chapter 1. Which I find so relatable, please. Like, so relatable. Thank you for crashing out for all of us. I mean, I don't want to promote crash out behavior, but, so relatable. I want to give Mystery his flowers. Like, and he published in 2007, even though he was more, like, he was the mentor for Neil Strauss. His book came later, probably in 2007, because at that point, Mystery's probably reading the room like, oh my God, this is finally mainstream. This is my time to shine. So he published a book called The Mystery Method in 2007. I have not read that in many lifetimes, but I remember enjoying it. It's very systematic. Again, I'm not gonna stand 10 toes down for the Mystery Method because I don't know. I would have to be fully brushed up on it, but I would be willing to say, go check it out. Not asking anyone to subscribe to anything, but just go look at it, like a social dynamics nerd. Go be curious. That's how I am, It's kind of how I got into this, is being curious. And actually, that leads me to my next and final main character in my list of characters. Being curious regardless of my emotions. We have Tyler. Shout out. Tyler. That's his fake name. That's his pseudonym name. Tyler, whose real name is Owen Cook. This is where I'm going to be mindful and careful and strategic in discussion. He's not the one who I believe would ever produce a slap lawsuit. I want to be really clear. That's not his game. I want to be really clear. I don't see him as that person. The reason why I want to be fair is because, the character of Tyler or Owen, for the sake of just consistency with the storyline here, since I'm discussing this in the framework of me being an outsider, looking in as a teenager, looking in at the material, I'm just going to stick to the little bit of the name Tyler because that's how I saw him in the early 2000s. He was Tyler. He was not yet Owen to me. He was like a sensational thing. Tyler was the young buck in the book, The Game. He was actually the bad guy, the antagonist in the book, The Game. Tyler Durden. Yes, okay. That was also funny too. There he was at 15 years old. One of my favorite, actually. The favorite movie I had at 15 years old in my heart was Fight Club. I used to watch it all the time. It was really on brand with my like apathy coming of age thing. And it was interesting how in the book, The Game, we meet Neil Strauss as Style. We meet Eric von Markovic as Mystery. These guys are like our protagonists of sorts. Like they're the characters we're really following. And then we meet Tyler, the younger guy, the new guy on the scene from Canada. From Canada. And he is cunning as described in the book. Again, I'm not fresh on the material, but this is how I remember it. He was the bad guy in the way that he was cunning. He was intelligent. He had energy, and he was really playing with the technology of pickup, the technology as in the language and the frameworks of pickup, where he learned from the people that were existing, his predecessors. He is a social dynamics nerd, truly. He learned from all of them, and he learned from Mystery. But why he was, if I remember correctly, why he was truly the bad guy is because he was also on his own path of greatness in this industry. And I believe he really was moving the plot forward with pickup. Like he was changing the narrative. Tyler and his friends, not just him, Tyler and his friends were changing how to interact with the landscape of dating and flirting. Because the old school pickup artists, they had a lot of routines. Like the Mystery method, if I'm speaking correctly here, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of routines. And there's a lot of great things to a routine because it's something you can lean on almost autopilot. It's a routine, right? It's just like, it's a framework that will mostly consistently produce some sort of result for you. You stay relatively on script. Okay, that's early pickup. In Tyler's generation, why he became a very interesting character beyond 2005 is because he and his peers were tearing apart the routines. They were challenging the script. They were breaking the rules of pickup and they were changing it. They really fucking challenged that social script. I'm saying this with a huge smile on my face because I'm still amazed. And I know it sounds insane. Oh, Spencer, you're amazed about the pickup artist, you fucking loser. Okay, well, shut the fuck up. You have no idea. You have no idea. I'm so amazed. And that's why I'm being careful talking about Tyler because it's no secret. Anyone who knows me. He himself, if he's listening to this, he doesn't have to. I will conduct myself responsibly in my word. But anyone who knows me knows, like, this man, I attribute a lot of life-changing insights and downloads from. A lot, like significant. I will never deny that. I could never. No matter what happens with this man. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Who knows what can come out on Tyler, or things that are already out on Tyler, on Owen Cook. Who knows? I don't necessarily believe all the headlines, but I also don't necessarily not believe all the headlines that have happened for pickup artists over the years. Like, I connect myself with a degree of I have to be careful with how the mainstream paints some of these people because there are agendas at play. But I also have to be careful to not be delusional because people are a little shady, right? People are shady. Even people I look up to can be shady because I don't know much better. But what's so interesting about Tyler is because the first time I met his character, it was in the book, The Game. He was a villain to me. He was a freaking villain. And so that's kind of leading into what I was saying, getting into this little tangent here is, look into the stuff, be curious about the stuff to the degree I was when I was really looking to pick up. Like, yeah, it was sort of self-serving. I sort of liked it as like a tool for self-help. But I also, had certain prejudice. So for instance, when I was getting momentum in studying the game just for the sake of study and special interest, I would have been now like 15 going to 16, 17 type of thing. I'd already read every book I could possibly get a hold of. I'd already consumed every YouTube video at the time, there were only so many at the time. And I only would consume from every single person, whether I agree with them or not, who wasn't Tyler. Because in my young mind, and I'm very loyal to concepts, for better and for worse, I have a lot of loyalty, but that can be good and bad, because loyalty can lead to delusion. I thought, no, fuck Tyler. He's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. He was the antagonist in the game. But, after a year or two of burning out the depths of what I can consume on this stuff for the sake of my special interest and really satisfying it, I'd see Tyler's YouTube videos and I would think, whatever, bro, I'll go hate watch it. You know what I mean? I'll just be a hater. I'll hate watch. And I remember the brain flip that was experienced when I was whatever sweet spot age of 16, 17, when I actually decided I'm going to click on one of these fucking videos from this guy, Tyler, the bad guy, thinking I'm just going to hate watch from afar out of curiosity. And I have no idea what the video was. I don't recall. But it was like round one was like one video. And there I am hate watching. And I'm thinking like, fuck this guy. He fucking sucks. But also, this is interesting. He was like speaking in a way that I never heard anyone speak before. And then I'm like, okay, well, fuck this guy. But let me just like click on the next video. Still with that charge of like hate watching. I'm like, okay, well, I obviously don't like this guy. But this is kind of interesting what he's saying. And then leading into like the next video. And then next thing you know, I'm just like binging the pipeline. Which, let me be clear, at the time I was looking at pickup artistry, it was not actually, it was not yet a successful pipeline to any problematic thing. Like, it really was just like dating and self-help, which is cute. I was looking at it at the right times. I think today there are a lot of actual like weird kind of like right-wing radicalizing pipelines that are very real. And a lot of entry points are like the fitness industry or the pickup artist industry, things that exist in the manosphere largely. Well, when I was looking at this stuff, like that wasn't quite a thing. It really was just like the payoff was, it's pickup, it's self-help, it's confidence, it's attraction. Love that. And just to be clear, why was I actually so into this as a teenager? Like at first it was that special interest curiosity. What I eventually would do in my high school, like with my peers, is I wouldn't practice game per se because that was like inappropriate. I was already like just a year shy of graduating or like finishing high school. So there was no place for me to suddenly become like a pickup artist in my high school. Like that's just weird behavior. But what I would do is sort of engage with some of the principles that I had been learning about as it relates to like playing with the social dynamics. And I would simply notice that I could generate unique responses in people around me. If I was mindful about my communication patterns, I could like produce a reaction in people. And that became very intoxicating. Almost like a power trip at first. It is like a power trip to feel like there was a time when I had no control over my own mind. And I'm not saying I have control over other people's minds, but it's to notice I have influence. That's powerful. And so that was enough for me to be like seeds of further curiosity of like, there is really something here. Like I'm not playing games. I'm not quite like hitting on my peers because it's not where I was at. But there is something here. And I would later explore it more in the real world when I was closer to being an adult, like 18, 19. 18, 19 was when I was really going hard on this stuff. I was like college age in my city. So like I could go to bars. Like it was appropriate. So I feel like my development through pickup was like all the milestones hit me at a very good time, in my opinion. And Tyler was the guy who I was just like, nah, fuck that guy. And again, polarity, right? Polarity, which is honestly a term I learned through this community. It exists outside of it, but I learned its utility through this knowledge. And it's like the polarizing effect of picking up the game in the first place when I was 15 and feeling like, what the fuck is this unicorn bullshit, Loch Ness Monster nonsense? And then feeling like, oh, but it's actually kind of interesting. Like, that's polarity. And then 2 years later or so, like give or take, seeing Tyler's videos and being like, no, fuck that guy. He's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. He's the bad guy. But having nothing else to watch or learn. And my mind was so curious. And so fuck that guy, but I'm going to go click his fucking videos anyways. Fuck that guy. Polarity. Because then when he won me over, like he wasn't taking me from a place of neutrality. He was taking me out of a ditch. Like out of a ditch of an opinion, a darker opinion of him, which means that my interest in him actually grew from a deeper place because it wasn't common ground. It wasn't neutrality. It was actually judgment at first. So it's a bigger climb. And Tyler, what did he do? Well, he finessed the industry. He really did move his plots forward. Great, like awesome. He and his team really evolved the quote unquote technology of pickup artistry in a cool way. Like some of my favorite ways, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of this episode. And we're getting there. Don't worry, we're getting there. Tyler, Owen Cook, he produced Foundations is a program he had. I think that was around 2005. I didn't write it down. And also his program called the Blueprint Decoded. I never really looked into it, funny enough. Like I looked into it a little bit. Even I had access to it for a while. And I think I took that access for granted. And I don't know why I didn't look into it. I think because I'd already consumed so much Tyler content at that point that I was kind of like, whatever. But that was his program, like the Blueprint Decoded. It was, I think, the way he discusses it, I don't know if he's just being a powerful marketer talking big game here, but he says like this program really shifted the ball in his court, you know, like he had the power in a sense, because like it was more revolutionary. And I think the Blueprint Decoded, I saw online that it was published around 2010. So where's the rest of my list here? So let's move into now. Again, I'm just setting the stage. This episode thankfully will be shorter than the first attempt that was a flop earlier today in the middle of the night. Let's now move into 3 things, and then I'm going to wrap it up and we'll go into the next parts. Like the next part of the podcast, I'll then be centering my journey, my story. And that's when I'm going to be more careful about talking about these people. Because again, I'm not here to cancel. I'm not here to start a hate train. No matter what critical things I could say about the people I've known, the things I've seen, no matter what, I will never, ever, ever deny what is true to me and what I've had so many people witness me through, which is I have gratitude for these thought leaders, if you will, who spoke about social dynamics in a language and a framework that just tickled my brain the right way. And I think that's why Owen Cook, Tyler, is so pronounced in my mind, because when I was 16, 17, consuming his stuff like crazy, like once I switched into, oh, okay, wait, this guy's onto something. It's not everything he said, okay? Because I've listened to the old stuff that I was connected to, and I consume it differently today, but that's okay. That's a part of the process. But in the beginning, it was like, this is the first human being on this entire planet through YouTube that is speaking about concepts in a way that is like, whoa, making me feel high. Like, I'm like, whoa, my mind is opening up. Like, whoa, like this makes sense. It's almost like the way it felt is this person is speaking about something that I've kind of always felt to be true, but I never had the words to make sense of it. And somehow he's hitting all the right words. Like, he's a great public speaker, no matter where that guy goes, no matter what happens to him, literally, no matter what happens to that man. Sorry, he's probably one of the best public speakers in the world. Not completely perfect, because his downside as a public speaker is he gets lost in the looping. But even that's impressive, because most mere mortals couldn't possibly get lost in looping for hours, you know? Like, it's a unique weakness to have. And most of his fans are into it. Like, most of his fans will sit there for hours. I've been one of them. He's very captivating. And yeah, he just says things that are like, whoa, okay. Or at least back then, you know, very, very, especially in the prime time of 2010 to 2013, just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I really like to see nowadays, when I've posted really resonant content on platforms such as TikTok about flirting, attraction, or whatever, about self-help, about social dynamics, when people comment on my videos saying stuff like, oh my God, I've never heard anyone say it like this. You know, I'll see comments like this at times, and it feels so satisfying, not just because that's a very gratifying piece of feedback to receive. It's not just that, it's, oh my God, I see myself in your comment, because that's how I felt when I was first consuming Tyler's stuff. Like, he helped open up my mind in a way to seeing this social dynamic shit in such a way where I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, he's on another level. And I'm not talking about like, oh, he's a big up artist who makes shit happen. I don't even know how legit he is, if I'm being honest. Like, I think he is. I've seen some of his girlfriends, right? Like, he's in the game, but it's really just how he shares ideas. It's different. he's different. And for me, it was like right time, right place, perfect brain tingle for me. So no matter what, this will always be true, what I'm saying. I will never change that. I will never have a revisionist history about that, ever. Because how could I? Like, he opened up my mind. He gave me tools of thinking and speaking that it is who I am today. And a lot of who I am today is me. And what I appreciate about Tyler's leadership, especially in the early days, is he would really empower that in his audience of like, yo, anything you're getting from me, like, it's you, bro. It's you. This is awakening in you. It's yours to have. It's just like he has that kind of language and access point to like stir it up in the individual. And that's how I do feel about myself, you know, is shout out to the people who have helped me open up my mind and think through different systems and live through different experiences, but also shout out to me for being that person to live through my experiences, to think with my mind, you know, to be the person I am, which is why, again, yeah, I will have some critical things to say about pickup artistry in the coming episodes, but respect. They literally taught me how to think in the beginning, for better and for worse. So let's get into that. Here's how we're going to wrap up this episode. I'm going to cover 3 different sections here. Things I didn't love but found to be valuable. That's number 1 section. Number 2 section is things I definitely don't like. Okay. And then I'm going to finish with this section called things I liked and still like. I want to finish on a positive. Okay. Before we go into the next parts. So, things I didn't love but found to be valuable. I only have 2 things on this list, okay? And it's not because I'm sure I could find more. The way I was writing this list was just kind of like what's coming top of mind. Top of mind, I don't want to overthink it. I just want to be spontaneous and accurate. So, things I didn't love but found to be valuable. In-field footage. Let me read. I was doing this in the first run of this episode. I'm going to read off of my own notes here. They're not meant to be read, but I think I covered it. So, in-field footage. Why did I love this? Why did I not love this but found it to be valuable? Well, seeing people actually in set, that's what the early days pickup artists would call it. They had a lot of terms that are outdated now. In set means like actually talking to someone. You're being in set. Okay, nerds. Okay, seeing people actually be in set helped me actualize this behavior and engage with it myself. In-field footage is obviously controversial. You know, it's people being made into subjects for content without knowing. They're not consenting to that. Sure, they're made to be blurred and anonymous. So I would actually argue, I'll stop reading. I'll just speak from my dome. I would actually argue what kind of frustrates me about culture and cancel culture and whatnot is the PUAs got such a bad rap for being whatever they were in their prime time of like 2000 to 2015 or whatever. And when cancel culture really took an upswing in the mid 2010s and like hashtag Me Too and everything that was like happening, you know, the world evolving, the PUAs really got torn apart, and things like having in-field footage, hidden camera footage of them practicing pickup and like posting on the internet. With faces blurred and names blurred and phone numbers blurred. Sure. They really got torn apart for that kind of shit. And maybe rightfully so. But why I'm frustrated is because have you seen the fucking nowadays Meta Ray-Ban glasses content? It's worse. It's in-field footage of social interactions of people not really knowing they're being filmed, I assume, most of the time. And they're not being blurred. It's just their face right up there, right up front and center. They didn't ask for that. That's today behavior, okay? And meanwhile, the pickup artists got, they got crucified. Well, maybe I shouldn't give them the credit of crucifixion there, but they got destroyed. And now you have still a bunch of weird, like people doing the exact same shit with Meta Ray-Ban glasses and no blurring, no nothing. And, you know, of course I've seen the commentary against. It's not like we're quiet about it. I've seen a lot of people and a lot of women speak against these Ray-Ban glasses and the behavior, but it's not a movement, you know? And it's funny how now from mid 2010s, there was a lot of unification in cancel culture. And I think now in mid 2020s, it's so fractured. We're all over the place. No one has a common enemy anymore. There's no common enemy. So even cancel culture itself feels very casual. The next thing on my list of things I didn't love but found to be valuable is controversial. It's negging. Okay, the neg, which I actually covered from the AI description in the beginning here. So yeah, let me read my notes. Okay, even Google's AI told me there is no positive framework of negging. It is inherently negative and manipulative. Honestly, fair enough. The neg is negative, and some of the PUAs would lean into the caricature of this in extreme and unnecessary ways. Granted, I'm almost grateful they did, because we got to see some rogue PUA assholes go hard on game, showing us the extremities of this behavior and its consequences, or results even. And what some people won't like me saying, there are also positive outcomes when strategically negging, when mindfully negging. Or a more palatable term that people might find themselves resonating with is the term of teasing. So I was saying this in my first run of this episode that unfortunately was a flop due to audio quality. But, I'm assuming it's for the best because now I have this version, the second version. I guess the way I see it is like the negging is when teasing is bad. That's how I see it. When negging is good, we don't call it a neg. We call it teasing. It's more fun. It's playful. It lends itself to an upward feeling of emotions and sensations. It's a good experience. It's a fun experience. I think when teasing is played poorly, that's when we call it negging. That's when we're like, oh, this fucking loser with his negs, what a dork, And so, because it's interesting, like, oh, people hate on negging, but the same people in a different moment, different situation, different stimuli, they'll receive what is basically negging, but it's being expressed through a more playful win-win teasing frame, and it's enjoyable. So that's why I'm not saying, yeah, let's all go neg people, but I just want to put negging into perspective. Like, I see it on that level, like it's somewhat deeper. Okay, next section. Things I definitely don't like. Okay, it's like I definitely don't like it. Okay. The promotion, and by the way, let me just do a little preamble here. What I'm about to say, it really was really only such a loud theme in PUA land around 2010. Like, this was the wild, wild west of the internet. This was the wild, wild west of censorship. Like, no one really knew, which is also interesting. Like, that's why I also feel like I'm so lucky to have witnessed this community before everything got taken apart, because like I saw it with other people. Like, I'm an honest witness. This stuff doesn't actually exist the same way it once did. So you won't find it so readily. But the thing I definitely don't like is promotion of how to handle LMR. LMR, that's last minute resistance. Okay. I hate to say that I had actually a really good way of unpacking this in my first run of this episode, but I'll try my best right now. First, I'll just start by reading my notes. Look, there are probably situations where LMR, last minute resistance, is really just a natural objection to handle in the same way that a sales call could play out, like a sales objection. Surely it must happen. Surely there are natural objections that exist in a way that is not toxic. It is not evil. It's not aligned with the rape culture. It's more in the sense of building trust. So the reason why I'm not, so here's what I definitely don't like. It's the promotion. Okay. The being on the big stage of pickup artistry and talking to thousands and hundreds of thousands and eventually millions of men who are listening to this. Imagine that's a big pool of people. Forget men. I'm not making this a gender thing. It's just people. That's a big pool of people that are being exposed to this information that are probably dumb. Let's be honest. Let's be so fucking for real. You already know if you've been listening to these episodes on this podcast, like I'm aware that there are dumb people. I speak on them. I troll on them, like there are dumb people. Dumb people can be very dangerous people. And when we're talking about subjects in the framework of pickup artistry and seduction of last minute resistance, I see that to be very dangerous. That is not something to just post willy-nilly on YouTube when your industry is growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. It's fun I get why it was being discussed, because I think there's a time and a place where this actually makes sense and it's appropriate. And the PUA themselves glorifying the technique, if you will, for them it makes sense in their point of view, from their perspective, their experiences, it makes sense. But for the dumb watching YouTube with their dick in their hand, they're like, oh yeah, The last minute resistance. Got to break through that. Got to break through the last minute resistance, LMR. Got to break through that. No, you don't, you idiot. That's not how it works. So here's my understanding of LMR, last minute resistance. Here's my understanding of it. As someone who has lived it, you know what I mean? Like as a partner myself who has presented the energy of LMR, as someone who has like confronted the energy of LMR, I don't see it as, oh, this is something to break through. I don't see it as, oh, this is something I need to like conquer. That to me is in alignment with rape culture. My understanding of LMR and like the most responsible PUAs who made sense to me, it's a natural objection to build trust. It's not how are you gonna break through my LMR? How are you gonna break through my last minute resistance? It's, hey, when I'm presenting a little bit of like when I'm sort of, okay, when we're close to actually like realizing a connection here, and towards the end, like towards the proximity of like this being realized, if you will, like us fucking or hooking up or whatever, if towards the end I'm gonna throw out a little bit of like, resistance is not the right word, just present the possibility that this is not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, okay? How are you gonna handle that? It's actually a moment to build trust, because the real answer is not, oh, conquer the last minute resistance, break through and fuck her. No way. The real PUAs who I like believe in largely, mostly, they are people who are like, no, it's a chance to actually build trust, because you have to be okay. If sex and connection, if that's not on the table anymore, you have to be okay with it. And the beauty is, the point of it, the utility of quote unquote handling LMR, last minute resistance, is when you demonstrate that you are okay with these things, like not going your way, if you will, like not going your way for the pickup artist, you're more likely to then build further trust and rapport that can lead to a sexual connection and a consensual connection. And that's how I see LMR. Okay. The problem with it is like, no way can we just occupy big loud stages and talk about pickup artistry to a bunch of fucking idiots by the thousands and hundreds of thousands and talk to them about how to handle last minute resistance. Are you kidding me? That's some dangerous shit. And that's why the industry got canceled, right? Because the thought leaders themselves didn't think on this level. They weren't thinking on this level. They're very lucky to have me, because I'm so loving and forgiving and so grateful. Oh my God, I could cancel all of you if I wanted to, but why would I do that? No. I like taking a balanced approach. This is my calling in life. So that's a thing I definitely don't like. It's the promotion of how to handle LMR, last minute resistance. There was a time when that was a little too loud. I have 2 more things on this list. Misogyny. Okay, I'm going to read my notes for this one to get through it. Actually, let me take another sip of water, please. I'm sweating my life apart in this car. I'm loving this. Thank you for listening, but I'm sweating. More water. Thank you. Okay, misogyny. That's what is a simple definition of misogyny? The hatred of women, the dislike of women. Misogyny. Here's what I wrote down. Even I have downloads in my own mind which undermine a woman's intelligence and agency. Me, I have that in my mind. It exists as a seed, okay? Largely because I welcomed this content into my mind before I really had filters made. Okay, I didn't really have filters at 15 years old. I didn't really have filters, okay? I was smart. I have to give me that. Like, I was smart and yet dumb as fuck, right? It's both. It's both at the same time. I write. And frankly, I'm oddly grateful for that, because I prefer having gone down this PUA pipeline while genuinely young and dumb, because my intentions were very clean, and I'd rather be experiencing disillusionment away from the manosphere rather than toward it. So the pacing is all right for me. But there is no doubt that this community would say shit about women that I really had to digest in my young mind and make excuses for. Okay? I'm not going to give examples for that, because I don't even want to feed into the narratives or delusions, but you know, in the manosphere specifically, not just PUA, but manosphere specifically, there's a lot of paranoia, and more now today than even back then. Isn't that crazy? there's so much paranoia, and even I could say the women are doing the same thing to the men. Like, it's a lot, the echo chamber is a lot of paranoia and a lot of us versus them. It's not collaborative. People are very fucking paranoid. It's kind of scary. I hope that bubble bursts too, you know, and I hope to improve those conversations, but it's a tough conversation to have, because people, rather than approaching nuanced thinking, they go into like reductive us versus them binary modes of thinking. And when it came to the frameworks of misogyny I would pick up in the PUA sphere, where it's affected me is, well, it's interesting because I am a woman. I've always been a woman for me. You know, I've always been a girl. I've always been a woman. And so when I would listen to some of the hot takes on women and what women respond to and whatever, I'm not just consuming from a place of like, oh, well, I like women, so I want to know this stuff. That is one reason. But the other frame of how I would consume this stuff is like, well, I am also a woman, so how do I feel about this stuff? And I think that's made my perspective a lot more powerful in the community, and something that most guys, my guy friends who became my friends out of the industry, like my real ass fucking friends outside of all this shit, they get me. They get me. They appreciate me. They're like, girl, you get like, they get my level, and that's why they're my friends. And then there were a lot of guys that just couldn't get me, but it's not their fault. Like, as much as I don't know the lived experience of a man, they don't know the lived experience of a woman. And the way I felt kind of like more powerful consuming this content is I had to actually deal with additional filters in my mind, even though I was lacking filters, because I did have some problematic thoughts come into my mind and even stay in my mind. I have to sometimes interrogate them to this day. Some misogynistic threads I notice that live in my mind. You know, I guess like internalized misogyny. It's not that big in my life, but it's there. So I don't want to deny it. Even though all that happened, I still was always having more filters than just the average dude consuming this stuff. And so I felt very thoughtful about pickup artistry. And that's why when I was in the male spaces, like in these communities, usually being one of the only girls there, like usually the only one, but sometimes there were others. Sometimes there were other like girlfriends or whatever that would just come by. Like girls were always welcome to an extent, but like it was an anomaly thing to be like the only woman, the only girl there. And like these guys would kind of be like, some guys I would meet, they'd almost have this energy of like, you don't belong here, which in their defense is kind of true, you know, kind of true. Although there was no rule about that. So that's why I was there. Sorry. I'm just playing the game myself. No one said I can't actually be here. So I'm here, bitch. What do you want? But like, they would also doubt my passion. And that made me feel a little insane, because I'm like, well, how do I explain to you that I might actually care about this more than you do? You fucking dork. What do you just want to fuck bitches, you loser? Like, this shit is making my brain feel like I'm on fire. Like, I'm like, it's not about pickup artistry. It's not about fucking bitches. It's like the most unique social dynamics content I've ever seen. This is changing my life, bitch. Like, how dare you doubt my belonging here? And yet I get it, because I'm just a girl, but it got to a point where when I'd meet people in the community, which I'll talk about more in the future episodes here, people would be like, oh, well, how long have you been looking at this stuff? I'd be like, longer than you, motherfucker. Way longer than you. You guys are all new. Like, this is my space. But that doesn't make sense on the surface to the guys. Like, they see me as an outsider. In my mind, I'm like, you guys don't even see it the way I see it. This shit is really, really close to my heart. It's bizarre. It's bizarre, okay? So yeah, the misogyny I definitely don't like. And it comes up, you know, because every now and then I have to be very careful in my mind about my relationships with women. Again, thankfully it's not a huge theme, but I'll find the seeds of doubt creep up in me, the seeds of paranoia, and that's so toxic for a loving relationship. So I you know, and I'm even with my girlfriend or like anyone who I'm dating, I'm actually transparent about it. Like I don't like to hide. I like to lead with the truth. And so I say like, oh yeah, you know, I got indoctrinated into the manosphere at a young age. I uniquely threw myself into that kind of situation. So unfortunately, I did adopt certain biases against women that sadly, like, it kind of occupies a bit of an energetic space in my mind. Not full time, not all the time, but every now and then it's like a tripwire. Like, I'll find a corner of my mind that I haven't quite resolved or looked at in a real way, or like maybe I just don't, maybe just to be earnest here, like, maybe there's truth to it. Okay, again, don't subscribe to this. I'm not a perfect person. I'm just entertaining like my models of thinking. Maybe part of the reason why I do at times entertain this level of paranoia is because maybe I just simply believe it. I hate to say that. Maybe I simply believe some of the duplicitous nature that I've been told about women. And I'm not saying this to promote that narrative. I really am not. I'm saying this because even as myself, as a woman, and as myself, like hanging out with my girlfriends, like when I really listen to how we like experience the world, girl, like we are pretty gamey ourselves. We're pretty gamey ourselves. Okay. So, so I just want to be fair. But I don't want that to be rooted in misogyny. That's the only problem. Last on the list here of things I definitely don't like. This one's very obvious. Any rapist, okay? Any rapist. I'll just read my notes here. Look, a pickup artist, in my mind, it's mostly a dorky guy on the spectrum who's looking to learn social skills in a really nerdy but also cool way that is aligned with community and self-help. Okay, that's how I see a pickup artist. It is a rarity that the community is producing actual rapists. However, statistically speaking, of course, there have been rapists in the community. From public-facing coaches with actual allegations to people actually inside the community. Like, this is where, in my future episodes, I will speak on that. I've brushed elbows with people who I know made the wrong choices. You know, and that kind of lended itself to my own disillusionment process because I'm like, fuck, these guys are actually dumb. Damn it. I wish everyone could be more like me or better than me. That'd be even better for me. Is everyone be better than me so I could be better. But instead, everyone around me seems to be a bit of a fucking idiot. So yeah, don't believe that pickup artists are rapists. That's not how I see it. But I do understand that, like, statistically speaking, in these rooms with these people, like, someone's going to be a bad character at some point. So it's a small minority, but there's no doubt these people exist. These are not pickup artists to me. They are rapists, okay? They're rapists. It's not a pickup artist. And I want to say that because when you do Google headlines about PUAs and even people I've known and respect, there will be language that does not paint these people out to be in a good standing, okay? Such as like rape coach. That's bad. But you know what's interesting though? There are actual I freaking forget his name because I don't care about him, never cared about him. But there was another PUA dating coach in the manosphere. Oh, I forget his name. Thank goodness I forget his name. He actually was promoting literal like rape culture narrative in his advice. Like he really was that guy. So to the defense of mainstream media headlines, I don't know. I think there could actually be rape coaches out there, if I'm being honest. The people I've known, I'm very willing to be wrong. I don't mind that even after I publish this, like if something comes out about someone I've trusted and respected that like they were actually a bad boy, I'm always willing to be wrong. That's where growth happens. So I will stand by my words. Like I don't care, bro. I'm here evolving. What about you? You know? But I don't believe that these people I've respected are like actual bad characters, but they do have bad words associated with them in the mainstream media because it's easy clickbait. Okay. To me, pickup artists are not rapists. To me, the industry did not produce rapists like as a copy paste formula, but there are dumb, selfish people with bad intentions in every community, everywhere. The funny thing is, like, it's easy to hate on a weird, like, unicorn, Loch Ness Monster community, like the pickup artists, the underbelly of the manosphere that are looking to connect with women. Like, oh, these fucking perverts, right? It's really easy. It's so easy to hate on that. Well, look at your little safe communities. Look around. Open your eyes. I think what I like about existing in the underbellies of the world is I'm not so illusioned about the safety of the people around me. Like, you know, those quote unquote male feminists that are really like active in those like safe spaces around women. Really? Okay. Not all of them. Not all men, right? Really though, like you really think that this guy is just like your level playing field brother who's just looking out for you, sister? Like really? All of them? No, come on. In a really safe way, I actually trust the pickup artists more than some men because at least they're leading with their agenda on their sleeve. Fuck, like you're trying to fuck women, right? And or find a girlfriend and or find a loving wife. You know, it's not all surface level, just getting your dick wet. These people were real people to me with real intentions to have real connections and also to really just get their dick wet. Like, it's a full spectrum, right? So at least with these people, they're honest. So what about the people who are hiding? What about those people? They're more shady. Critique them. Okay, also critique the pickup artist. Duh. But like, I find safety in the fullness of the agenda. Like, I didn't fear pickup artists, and I actually did quite literally physically brush elbows with creepy people in real spaces. Like, actually literally brush elbows. I remember my first ever event. I won't talk about this, but like, when I get into my stories, the first ever event I really attended in this community, for some reason, a weird guy sat next to me. Well, for some reason, it was like one of the only girls there, and a weird guy, and he was kind of touchy. That never repeated itself. Let me be clear. Like, I had guys at times kind of hit on me because they're in the game, right? But like, it's fine. Like, that doesn't work. I find it flattering. Thanks. It's cute. But like, this weird guy that was kind of like literally physically, I felt him a little too brushy with me, brushing up on me. It was like, oh shit. That was the only time. And I didn't gather that he was like actually into this stuff properly. I think he was just, one of the guys that is in the audience, one of the guys who like, they hear about terms such as LMR and they shouldn't be. Like, they're not actually in it in a responsible and thoughtful way. They're like just there. So that was the one guy. And I'm okay. I'm a big girl. Okay, now let's wrap it up. I'm happy we did this part 2 because the one I recorded this morning that didn't work out, 1 hour, 50 minutes. This one, I think we'll be able to wrap it up. I'll try to go quicker, but the good now. Things I liked and I still like. Okay? It's a list. Law of assumption. So that's assuming familiarity or assuming attraction to move those needles forward. I like that. I like that a lot. That's the thing about, you'll see my list here of what I liked and I still like. Most of it is just rooted in self-help, law of attraction, LOA. It's that. What I thought the pickup artists did really well is they took all these things in principle and related it to a niche of attraction and flirting. So it's specialized, and that's what I like. But the law of assumption, assuming familiarity, assuming attraction, this is key. In all interactions. Just assume that level of familiarity, assume that warmth. Because that's actually how you lend yourself to like producing a positive outcome with another person, is the law of assumption. Another one, things I liked and still like, is getting in state. It's very simple. Getting in state. It's getting in your flow state. Getting in the zone, getting in the state. I will speak on this. What I find interesting is in the industry, getting in state is controversial advice, which is so fascinating. There are a lot of different thought leaders with their different shticks of game, like routines and frameworks that work for them. And as someone who consumed various different points of views, I would notice, you really do have to, if you really want to benefit from this information, you should have nuanced thinking, because all kinds of different instructors are saying different things and there's a lot of contradiction, and that's okay, right? Because some things are going to work for some people and some things are going to work for other people. And there were instructors who would not necessarily talk down on getting in state, but they would like say, it's overrated, basically. Like, you don't need to get in state to start talking to women or talking to people. You don't need to. You can also just go through the system and the process of doing the motions of connecting with people. Like do it. Do it when you're out of state. Talk to people when you feel like shit. It's obviously not ideal, but like, don't make an excuse. Oh, I'm not in state, so I can't go talk to someone. That was sort of the cop out. That's why it's like a controversial piece of advice. I'm personally never going to be against getting in state, but for someone like me, it's easy to get in state. My life is a flow state. I'm optimizing for flow. Okay. That's why I like the tools of pickup, because there's a lot of playful, flirty attitudes that I'm constantly siphoning that energy just in my own life. Just cause, baby, just cause, which leads me to the next thing on my list, self-amusement. This is really key. Things I liked and still like, self-amusement. I'm always using self-amusement as a way of getting in state. Like, I'm always playing with myself. And what's so attractive about self-amusement goes into the next thing on my list, is the law of state transference. The law of state transference. Whatever I'm feeling, you're feeling. Whatever I'm feeling, you're feeling. Whatever I'm feeling, you're feeling. So if I find myself in the state, in a flow state of being fun, flirty, and self-amusing just on my own accord, just for my own satisfaction. Well, the beauty and the utility in that, and what I actually talk about this a lot on TikTok, and it either goes viral or people sleep on it. It's like either or. The beauty of self-amusement and getting in state, and then the law of state transference, is when I am habituating a flirty essence. Okay, I'm not being a weirdo, like flirting with myself. Okay, it's not like that. I'm just in a playful, fun, flowy energy, and then I come face to face with an opportunity to connect with someone. Well, from there, it's effortless to keep on that frequency of fun, playful, easygoing flirtation, because I was already embodying it. I was already existing in the space, and now I'm just using the law of state transference to make that felt for the other person too. So that's why I love that. Things I like and still like. Things I liked and still like. Okay, this one is funny. Let me explain it. It's this framework of man to woman. Yeah, me, the lesbian. I love that. Man to woman. So I don't love the language of man to woman. It kind of gives my tongue the ick when I say it. Man to woman. Something about it gives me the ick. But what it is speaking to is having intentful communication, speaking with intent, clarity of intent. And basically what the PUAs would promote is like, listen, bro, like for the bros, like when you're a man and you go and approach a woman, just acknowledge right off the bat in the assumption of the heteronormative script. The assumption is you were a man who's attracted to that woman. And what some men will do is they'll default to playing it safe, playing to basically not lose is how I see it. Rather than playing to win, it's playing to not lose. They use tools of plausible deniability to hide their intentions and kind of like coast and see how far they can get. It's very opportunistic and shady. What the PUAs are proposing is like, bro, it's your chance, like right then and there, off the open, off the approach, to be quote unquote man to woman and to have intentful communication, because at least in the framework of a heteronormative society, that is the assumption, bro. Like, get over yourself. Stop hiding. Like, the assumption is like, you're talking to her due to interest, so don't hide it. Lean in. Why I like this, me, Spencer, why I like this is because I've found the angle of man to woman to be very useful as a lesbian. And I've also made TikTok content about this that has popped off for the queer community. I'm not saying women, like queer women, should be men. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But this idea of intentful communication that I take from the frame of the PUA's proposing man to woman is simply, when you're a queer woman who's attracted to another woman, but you're not sure, like it's not obvious to you about like the dynamic, where she stands, sexuality, like what's available to you here. Personally, as an old school, longtime studier of pickup artists and all this nonsense, and someone who like walks the talk into existence, I just use intentful communication to polarize a dynamic and reveal, is there attraction or chemistry here or not? Sometimes there's not. That's fine, but I'm not really going to know until I communicate with intent. You know, I can't make it so safe. And women, queer women, I think really need this, because we don't have the default of being a man talking to a woman. Like, we are not men talking to women. So there isn't the effortless heteronormative script of assumption of like, oh, okay, this is interest, this is intrigue. No, it's way more plausible deniability. So it's way better to be far more intentful with your communication. Okay, next. I'm sweating like crazy. This has been an amazing sauna experience. It's amazing. Next on my list, proactive versus reactive. Oh, baby. This for me is social dynamics. There's always someone more in reaction to another person, okay? Like, someone is always more in reaction than the other, okay? Proactive versus reactive. I don't think I have the brain power to talk about how fascinating I find this to be, but it is interesting to start noticing yourself. Even right now, this is a very simple, low stakes example. I am the proactive force in your mind, if at all, if this is working, right? If you're listening this far, if this is taking any kind of shape in your mind, you're in reaction to me. And that's why I do aim to conduct myself responsibly in my communication, because you're in reaction to me. That's crazy. That means I can get in your head. Ooh, That's scary. Don't you think that's a little scary? Proactive versus reactive. This is like everything to me that is social dynamics. It is so powerful if you really start to peel it apart. It's energetic, so I think it really resonates with me because I think that's something, that's a way that I feel through the world that makes sense to me, and I know it's not going to be relatable to others. That's okay. I love, this is what I love about the various instructors in the pickup artist sphere is you have the people that are more like me. I find like they're more abstract, they're more whimsy, they're more flow state oriented, get in state, those people. And then there are the instructors that were way more clinical, way more routine, way more theory based. I love both, I go both ways. Why was I saying that? Oh yeah, because proactive versus reactive, the energy of it is always, it's once it clicked in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is everything. This is social dynamics. This is everywhere for me. This is always, it's not pickup. It's everything. And when it comes to like psychological warfare and games for real, proactive versus reactive, it's all a fucking game. It's all a game. And listen to my previous podcast episode that's not related to pickup artistry, but listen to the soapbox I'm on in my passionate rants about psychological warfare. Like, you'll notice the nature of the game I play is about pressure. When I'm in that game, it's just pressure. Because I can proactively put pressure on people in uncomfortable social situations that most mere mortals have no idea what to do with. Therefore, making me a proactive force and putting others in reaction to me. Therefore, making me the threat in that framework of warfare, right? But okay, most social dynamics for me, I want to be really clear, it's not warfare. I don't see it that way, but yeah, it can come to that. I would love to make an episode all about proactive versus reactive. Let's put a pin in that because I think it's a lot. It's so interesting. I have a few more things here on the list. Let's go faster. This idea of incongruence sparks attraction. Incongruence sparks attraction. Okay, so it's sort of like, well, me, in fact, is an example in this. Okay, I want to reframe it. The PUA who proposed this idea, incongruence sparks attraction. Shout out to Luke. What's up, Luke? I'm sure he's not listening to this. Actually, last I checked, this man I just referenced, no one's heard from him in months. Sketchy. I hope he's okay. Incongruence sparks attraction. The way I would just peel it back to be more relatable is actually incongruence captures attention. It turns heads. It's interesting, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's attraction. Now, I like that the framework of incongruence sparks attraction, it's already doing the work of the law of assumption, assuming attraction. So it's like a step ahead for the listener. But because I've been producing content enough to know that people are very like critical when they hear these things, I just want to peel it back into a more relatable level. Let's remove the assumption of attraction and let's just say incongruence is what can capture attention and turn heads. And when I was going to use my example, I was going to say when I'm the only woman in one of these like rooms full of like 100 dudes that are fans of pickup, it's like incongruent, right? It's asymmetrical. It's unusual. It's very obviously unusual. And so obviously it's turning heads, it's capturing attention. And with attention, you can then leverage attention to like create an opportunity to build attraction. So that's where it's incongruent sparks attraction. Really interesting stuff. Shout out to Luke. The only person I'll probably never name again in this series because I honestly have nothing to say about him. Funny guy. This term I got from the guy David D'Angelo, Eben Pagan, who I discussed in the early game people. Attraction isn't a choice. This term, attraction isn't a choice. I really liked this framework. I want to be really clear. When I was 16 years old, looking at David D'Angelo's stuff, and he proposed this idea of attraction isn't a choice, it really like sat on my mind in a way that no other idea did. Because I needed to hear it at that time. And I didn't even believe it. That's why I was so obsessed with it. I actually took out a Post-it note. I remember in my childhood bedroom, took out a Post-it note with a pen and I wrote it down in all capitals print. Attraction isn't a choice. And I put that Post-it note on the wall right above my bed just so I could ponder it. So I could be reminded of it. And why I needed that the most at 16 is because, with the way my self-esteem was, my self-concept, everything, my confidence, the way I positioned myself in the world, like, yes, I was coming out of the mental hell realms of my low self-concept. I was, yes, crawling out of it, but I was still like kind of in it. And I'm attracted to very, 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 very beautiful people. Like I'm attracted to very real people. I'm not into a superficial beauty. Looks will never be the full spectrum for me ever. Like that, hopefully if you've been listening, you can kind of sense like I am a real person. I resonate with realness. Looks will never be enough. Ever. Like it can never be enough. The person is always what I fall in love with. The person is who I fall in love with. But I love to, like I love to like look at it. I love to love beauty. So I kind of look for both. And so this idea of attraction isn't a choice. Like with the girls I was having crushes on when I was growing up, goddamn, they were way out of my league. I don't know. Speaking of attraction isn't a choice, I'd feel it in myself. Like, why the fuck am I so attracted to these absolutely gorgeous, super duper hot, popular girls? That is crazy. Like at the time, I'm like awkward, chubby. I like don't even know how to embody myself. Like I trip over my own feet. Like I'm super, super not in that league. I can't believe I'm attuned to the frequency, but there's no denying it. There's a certain quality of beautiful woman that like when I see her, I want to resonate with her. And it's funny because I was experiencing it at a time in my life when I stood no chance. And so this idea of like, oh, attraction isn't a choice. Not only did I feel it was true for me, I wondered, okay, what does that mean for me in terms of my opportunities and my potential? Because what kind of levers can I be pulling on? What kind of buttons could I be pushing? Like what can I do with everything in my control, in my locus of control, my sphere of influence to possibly have these types of women be interested in someone like me? Like, where can I kind of exploit this idea that attraction isn't a choice? Like, where can I make it that they're almost shocked that they like me? And I believe that has happened countless times by now. So I've really played into that game. Thanks, David D'Angelo. 4 more things on the list. I got this from Tyler, mostly from his crew. This idea or like this tonality frame of rapport seeking, neutrality that actually, when I was recording this already this morning, I said it's more positive dominance. The tone that you hear me speaking in throughout this entire episode has been positive dominance. This is positive dominance. Very sexy stuff. You should take notes on my tonality. I was not born like this. I put work into this. This is mindfulness in my communication style. And rapport breaking. So rapport seeking, comfort seeking, rapport seeking. Positive dominance is my neutrality state. And then rapport breaking. Rapport seeking sounds like this. It's like, hey guys, thanks for being here at the podcast. Love to have you here. This is my podcast. It's rapport seeking. Okay. Positive dominance is everything I've been speaking in. It's how I sound right now. There's a downturn of the dominance in my frame and how I speak with conviction, but there's also the lilt of positivity in my tonality. And then there's rapport breaking. Rapport breaking. Turn back to the previous episode of this podcast where I'm in more of a mood, talking about all my nonsense, my updates. Lots of examples of rapport breaking in my speech. It's a lot like, no, motherfucker, no, hey, no, no. Okay, it's breaking comfort, breaking rapport, breaking comfort. These again, this would actually play really well into an episode that speaks about proactive versus reactive, because playing with seeking rapport, positive dominance, and breaking rapport, it's just playing with energy. 3 more things on the list. Leaving your friends, girlfriends alone. Things I liked that I still like. Okay, this is where I actually give the pickup artists their flowers, and the world doesn't pay enough attention to this. So many average men who take a very average pursuit in life, they get average results and they have average ideals and average ways of strategizing success in life. And so a lot of average people and average men will look at the dating game as, especially before there were apps to scroll on. Now, I think the apps themselves can be a pursuit of mediocrity and averages. That's not always true, but at scale. But even before the apps, it's the behavior of like, oh, yes, your high school sweetheart. Okay, no disrespect if you're in love with your high school sweetheart. That's beautiful. Shout out to you. But like, oh, yes, my coworker. I have to date my coworkers because where else do I meet people? My coworkers. Or, oh, yes, oh, I'm in love with my best friend's girlfriend. Oh, yes. So what I always liked is that the pickup artist would actually kind of like troll, like Tyler was someone that did this. He would like troll this idea of being in like your social circles that like they're not meant to be predated upon. Leave them alone. Like be for once, like be their friend. Be a supportive person, be a trusted person. What the pickup artist would promote is, actually this is next on my list, so let me just go into that. Frames of abundance. You don't need to be opportunistic with your best friend's girlfriend or like your little coworker or like Jenny from down the block or whatever the fuck. Like you don't need that to do that, because the whole point of learning these skills of attraction is to be able to like build your lead list, to meet people out in the world and to actually like experience the world without being so limited. And I've seen this, in like the company I was shitting on, the cannabis production thing, like it was a whole incestuous, weird, everyone sleeping with their coworkers. Like it was just weird. It was such a fascinating experience for me to be in for so many reasons. But as it relates to being a social dynamics nerd, it was a really precious time in my adult life after everything. Because when I was working at that company, I'd already done all this shit. Like I was so deeply downloaded on like game that to like enter a normal average world, like the average blue collar world, and observe the social dynamics was like, whoa, it's true what they were saying. Like there really are like men in their 20s and 30s and 40s that are just here in this hive mind being opportunistic predators. Like they're not evil necessarily. I'm not that mad about it, but it just like it's so limiting to see. I felt like, god damn, like this is the game, bro. Like this is it. You're just gonna hope and pray that the company hires a girl that's available to you. I don't know about that. Like I really love a chance to go out in the world and meet a beautiful woman. You know what I mean? Like I love the chance. Last thing on my list here is the frame of win-win. Win-win. That I love. Win-win. I mean, the PUAs that I personally resonated with, not all of them, right? But like the ones I personally resonated with, largely they would promote frameworks of win-win. Not always, not perfectly. But the essence that they were always trying to communicate to their dumb audience was win-win. This is win-win. Like if someone's going to connect with you, vibe with you, date you, that other person should be winning. It's not about you winning. It's about that other person winning. And I love that, because when I think about flirting and attraction through a framework of me wanting someone else to win, it puts me in a winner effect, me in a winner frame, because I have to start seeing myself as a fucking prize. I can't debate that. It cannot, this is not up for debate. When I was a teenager and when I was still dealing with my concepts of like self-esteem or whatever, it was constantly up for debate. Oh, like I'm like pondering a post-it note on my wall as a teenager. Attraction isn't a choice. Like I'm debating it. Is it true? Is it true? Now I'm at a point where I'm not so delusional that I think, oh, everyone was going to want to fuck me and fall in love with me. Hell no, absolutely not. But there are people who will fall in love with me. You know what I mean? Like that will happen. And part of that, why that will happen is because there's a part of me that's fully resolved into a winner frame. Parts of me aren't. But in terms of the attraction game, I've put so much energy and thought and intention into this. Like that's why it's so serious for me, that I do see myself as a prize. And I focus on communication patterns and skills to make that make sense to other people. Like that's the experience of dating me, is getting to know me and understand I am a prize to an extent, but I also see you as a prize too, right? Like it's win-win. It's win-win. And I think where the PUA's got a bad rap in some lights is people, like just as the Google AI result suggests, like it's manipulation, it's opportunistic, whatever. Like, okay, maybe sometimes people were acting like bad characters, for sure, for sure, absolutely. But like, that's not really the technology that works here. And personally speaking, and thankfully, I know I'm socially aligned with the right side of the pickup artist industry. Like my friends are on the right side of history, thank God. I couldn't imagine, and the people I'm aligned with, like we couldn't imagine taking from someone, exploiting someone in a way where they lose. And what am I supposed to walk away feeling like a winner at the expense of like someone's experience? It doesn't work for me. Like if someone else loses, in some way in relation to me, then I too am a fucking loser. There's no winning. So that's why the frame of win-win, it's like a mirroring experience. And there's a certain responsibility to that. It's easy to just talk. Like, oh, win-win, frames of abundance. Yes. Oh, attraction isn't a choice. It's easy to talk. I really believe in walk, which is kind of why I've waited 15 fucking years to really share my spiel on this stuff, because dude, I've been taking my time to make sure I'm real. I'm so paranoid. I have such internalized misogyny that I'm like, I'm joking by the way, but like, just to humor the callback humor here, I'm so paranoid that I'm like, am I real? Am I legit? Well, at this point, 2026, I'm fucking real. I'm the real deal. I'm not saying I'm a pickup artist. I'm not saying I'm the real deal dating coach, but in terms of how I see the world and experience the world, I'm the real fucking deal. I believe this because I'm willing to admit the wrongs. I'm willing to admit the bullshit. Like, I'm willing to look at it. It's not always easy, but I'm the real deal. And that's kind of why I've like waited to talk about this stuff. Anyways, let's wrap this up. That was the positive list of like, okay, you know, it's all very cool stuff. I'm sure I have far more things to say, but this was like the top of mind list. And thank you so much for listening. I'm sweating my life apart. It's amazing. This has been such a cathartic experience. The second go around of this recording in the sauna of this SUV, you guys let me drink water. That was amazing. You guys are so sweet to me. So this is just setting the stage for the pickup artistry conversation. In the following episodes, I'm going to be discussing my own story, my own experience. And I want to be careful and I want to be mindful and I want to be respectful because, yeah, okay, I'm a critical thinker and I'm willing to speak my truth. But I want to also say that no matter what, there's no coming back from this. Like, I've seen men from the community shy away. Like, oh yeah, oh, I looked at a book once, or that maybe I used to look at those YouTube videos, but it's bad. It's weird. It's bad. I would never anymore. I'm over it. I look at these people and I kind of see like, okay, fine. You're very welcome to have that perspective, but I personally see you as weak and cowardly because yeah, right, bitch. Like, you're telling me, oh, there's like one version of you that like looked at this stuff and now there's the version of you today that's like, oh no, that's bad. I would never. Oh, please, shut the fuck up. So my whole point is like, no matter what happens, my whole point of producing the episodes here on Show Ahora is to leave my legacy and leave my truth. And so no matter how anyone can hold me accountable, like, Spencer, you were aligned with these people, like this entity, these pickup artists, like, really, girl, really? I mean, try me, pull me apart, hold me accountable, do whatever you want, because I'm not afraid, because I don't believe I've ever had bad intentions. Like, frankly, the way I could look at myself if I'm going to engage in revisionist history here, the only way I could possibly engage in revisionist history, and sometimes I'd say it nowadays as a joke, is to say I was infiltrating the pickup artist. I was an undercover op, but I wasn't. I was really there. You know, as I said, piggybacking off of Neil Strauss's dedication into the game, let's finish on that. Let's remind us, what did he say at the beginning of the game? He said, dedicated to the thousands of people I talked to in bars, clubs, malls, airports, grocery stores, subways, and elevators over the last 2 years. If you are reading this, I want you to know that I wasn't running game on you. I was being sincere. Really, you were different. Well, my message to the community is, if you're listening to this, I want you to know that I wasn't running game on you. This wasn't investigative journalism. I was not an undercover op. That would be the only plausible deniability, the only possible revisionist history that I could possibly entertain, but I wasn't. I was a kid. I'm not that cunning. I'm not that clever. I was a kid. I was curious. I wasn't running game on you. I was being sincere. Really, I am different. Thank you for listening.